Hey everyone, today we're going to do a little bit something different. I'm not going to be sharing any music or anything, but a couple weeks ago when all this started with the quarantine and social distancing, I was scheduled to do a seminar on relationships. And I thought it'd be kind of apropos for this time that we find ourselves in, not just relationships in terms of, our significant others or whatnot, but any kind of relationships, whether it's with coworkers, employers and employees, family members, friends, of course, our significant others, and any other types of relationships we may find ourselves in. And since I wasn't able to present that a couple weekends ago, I thought I would provide a little synopsis of it here, and then of course, down the line when we're able to reschedule that, it will be rescheduled. But I just wanted to share that with you all as a resource because I think it's meaningful in this time where we find ourselves either isolated or in close quarters with people that we can't get away from or whatnot. But I thought it would be something meaningful to go over. So I wanted to share 7 important aspects of relationships, what I consider to be the 7 fundamental core aspects of having meaningful relationships with the people around us. Okay? So first off, the probably most important aspect that we can have founded there deep at the core of our relationships is grace and love. They're one and the same. I see them as one and the same. And that is basically focused on things like forgiveness, kindness, encouragement, right? Anything that involves a loving, caring, gracious experience of one another. And if our relationships aren't founded on that, we're not going to trust. We're not going to feel free to be ourselves and to allow others to be themselves. And that makes relationships difficult, or at least good ones. And so our relationships have to be founded on that type of interaction where we're able to say, come as you are. I accept you for who you are. I may not agree with everything that you do, or you may not agree with everything I do or our choices, but we accept each other as we are. We don't put any kind of prejudice, any kind of bias, any kind of judgment or condemnation upon that interaction with one another. It's an interaction of saying, just come and be as you are. And let's relate together. Okay? And if we don't have that kind of grace and love, kindness, encouragement, support, interaction, then we won't be free to be ourselves. We won't feel that we can trust the person, that they won't just up and leave or condemn us or judge us for anything and everything that we are. And likewise, we would probably do the same for them if we didn't have that grace and love there at the heart of the relationship. So that's very important. The next thing that's important is humility. We're all in the same boat. We're all in this together. This thing called relationship and relating and humanity and experience and life. And if we don't feel that way, if we feel that we're either greater than others or lesser than others, there's a problem. There's a disconnect. We cannot relate and have meaningful relationships when we feel that there's that kind of discrepancy, right? Now, there are differences in the world between people. We may have different experiences in life, we may have different talents, we may come from different places, but those aren't differences that create inequalities in and of themselves. Now, we can make them into inequalities, and that's why there's so much yucky stuff in the world, like prejudice and racism and sexism, etc., all the isms, right? Those are not helpful things. Those are not meaningful things in this world. They break down relationships. They break down interactions. So what we want to focus on is a sense of humility, not false humility and not over humility where we're deprecating ourselves. No, a balanced, meaningful humility where we say we're all in this together. We're equals. We're in the same boat. Even though there's differences, we are equals. We are all the same value and worth intrinsically. It doesn't matter what we look like, where we come from, what we've been, where we've been, or what we've done. We are all equals. And if we can believe that and live that, it opens up a whole new possibility for relationship, connection, and growth. That's key. That is utterly important to have that sense of balanced humility. Again, not feeling like we are better than others and not feeling like we are worse than others. It can go both ways. We can always be putting ourselves down, thinking everyone else is better than us, doing all these comparisons that are not helpful in a negative way towards ourselves. And that's just as detrimental as thinking you're better and more elite than everyone else around you. Okay? And it's kind of either extreme gets into a sort of narcissism that just isolates us from one another. But we have to have a balanced perspective. So that's the second one. The third one is that we want to make sure that we have honesty. Honesty is important and key in relationships. If you're not honest with yourself, if you're not honest with others, then you can't have a relationship, right? So there has to be that sense of truthfulness, openness, vulnerability, honesty, right? That we're able to just be ourselves and be honest with that. And of course, if we have that grace and love, we can feel like we can be honest about that and not have to hide things, because people are not just going to throw us out immediately when they hear something they don't like, but we're able to listen and grow and work together so we can be honest in that way. But honesty is not just about telling the truth. Honesty is also about being careful with what we say and how we say it, even if we're telling the truth or saying something that's truthful. You know, that we're not talking about other people behind their backs, even if it may be something that's true, that's going to be detrimental to them when they're not present to talk about their side of the story. That can be harmful and hurtful, even if there's truth there. So honesty is not just about telling the truth, but it's about knowing how to work with that truth, how to talk about things, how to talk about people, how to interact with all people that are around us in ways that are honest, but also with good intent, and also when other people are able to be around to share their side of the story. So, you know, gossiping and vain speaking in that manner isn't going to be helpful for relationships. If I'm talking about someone behind their back, whether it's true or not, it's probably not a good idea. But if we're all together and we're talking about things or situations that maybe were hurtful to us, that we didn't agree with, and we can all hash it out together, that may be more productive. So it depends, and we have to use our discretion. But always keeping in mind, hey, I don't want to talk about somebody if they're not present is probably a good idea. So that's honesty. And then we have accountability. Accountability is basically saying, I'm going to be responsible, I'm going to be accountable for all of my behaviors, all my words, my actions, no matter what it says, what I say, what I do, I'm going to be accountable for that. I'm going to take accountable action and reaction to whatever I do and say. So if I make a mistake, I'm able to say, you know what, that's on me. It was my mistake. I need to correct that. Let me make it better. Let me try not to do it again. Let me do whatever I can to make it right. Right? Not blaming others, casting blame and excusing and making the responsibility go outward when it actually is inward towards myself, but saying, you know what, no, it's okay. I made the mistake. That's on me. Let me make it right. That's accountability. Being able to say, I'm accountable, is key. And there's so much lack of accountability in our society today. And that's why our relationships are suffering. That's why our society is suffering. Because we don't hold ourselves and hold each other accountable for the actions and reactions and things that we do and say in life. We're too busy casting blame, saying, no, it's their fault. No, it's this. No, it's that. No, I didn't say it. Denial, all this stuff. But rather than saying, you know what? Look, it was my fault. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Let me make it right. And then going forth and doing whatever it takes to make it right and to make things better in the future and to not do those things again as much as we can. Right? And that's accountability. It's our reputation. Our reputation precedes us. It is everything. If I don't feel I can trust you because you have shown time and time again that you cannot be trusted because maybe you are not being honest, or maybe you never are on time when you say you're going to be, or whatever the case may be, that breaks down your reputation and accountability, and our relationship is going to suffer. But if you're always on time, if you are honest and truthful, if you are striving to do the best you can, if when you make mistakes you are accountable and own up to it and make it right and aren't afraid to say sorry and it's my mistake, that builds relationship. One of the most important things we can ever do is not to be perfect and never make a mistake. No, it's to make a mistake and say, I made a mistake, and make it right. That way, people around you will say, wow, that's a person of integrity. That's a person I can trust. And the relationship grows. The honor, the respect grows in their heart for you because you were honest. You were accountable. So accountability is very much key. And then we have next one of the most, I would say, difficult ones to do, and that is patience. Now, right now, we're having to have a lot of patience because we're either stuck inside or perhaps, we might be ill and we have to be careful with how we spread that. Or even if, for some people with finances and stuff, there's a lot of patience going on, or maybe not going on, but we have to have that kind of patience, especially in dire situations like that. But patience is not simply just waiting for something. Patience is also moderation and challenge, which I think is very important in a situation like this, where you have a situation where we have to work together to make it, society work right and function right, or things can really take a turn for the worst. And when you see situations like people hoarding stuff or going and buying all sorts of toilet paper, whatever, that is a lack of moderation, a lack of challenge. It's complete and utter selfishness and self-survival instinct going out there saying, oh my goodness, I gotta have everything I need, versus saying, okay, hold on. How can I make sure everyone has what they need? How can I make sure, that I don't overdo it and over focus on myself, and make sure I have enough, or maybe even less than just enough, and make so that everyone is doing okay. And that's moderation and challenge. Absolutely. Where I can say, okay, I don't need to eat a 5-course meal. I can eat a bowl of cereal and be just as okay. In fact, I can eat a half a bowl of cereal and be just as okay. That's moderation. That's challenge. That's patience. To where you can say, hey, I don't need to have this right now. I can delay that till later, or I don't even have to have it all. Or you know what? It's even better. I can take the shirt off of my back and give it to someone else. And that is patience. Doing things that will not only push yourself ahead and help you grow through learning and challenging yourself, but also help those around you, even at the cost of sacrifice. And we'll come back to sacrifice in just a second. So that's very, very, very important, is patience, right? Okay. Now, one of the another thing that's very important is commitment. We have to be people who are committed, people who can say something and do it and follow through. We can't just be someone who says, okay, I'm going to do something, but if it gets hard, or if I don't feel like doing it anymore, I'm just going to say, forget it, I'm out of here. No, if we say we're going to do something, we keep our word and we follow through. Again, we are people of reputation, of responsibility, of reliability, of stability, right? Of accountability, of patience, moderation, and challenge, where we can say, okay, I'm going to take on this new task, I'm going to take on this new job, I'm going to do what you've asked me to do, and I'm going to follow it through, see it through to the end, and complete it to the best of my ability. It may not be perfect, I may even screw up quite a bit, but I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, see it all the way through, and I'll hopefully learn and grow from it. That kind of commitment is important in relationships. If you cannot be a person of commitment, you're probably not going to be very good in relationships, right? Or if you're in relationships where someone is struggling with commitment, that relationship is going to be rocky. But if you're with somebody in a relationship like a significant other, or if you're perhaps like in a worker, co-worker, or work employer-employee relationship, or even just a family relationship where there's commitment, you have a relationship that works well. Because you can trust that person that when they say, yeah, I'm going to do that, boom, they are going to do that. Absolutely. And when they say, I'm going to do it by 3 o'clock, well, by golly, as close to 3 o'clock as they can, it's done. Because they're a person of commitment and reputation, accountability, reliability, right? So commitment is absolutely key and important to all types of relationships. Now let's come back to that idea of sacrifice. If we don't have sacrifice in our relationships, it's going to be difficult. A relationship, especially when we're thinking about family and significant others has to include relationship. Think about parents and children. When there's a good parent-child relationship and everyone's caring for each other, there's a lot of sacrifice that happens, especially when children are young, that parents do for their children, right? They may not go to places they used to enjoy going to because they have to care for their children. They may have to work extra to provide for their children, send them to school, etc. And the list goes on. And as we grow, the tides shift, and as children, people tend to sacrifice for us more, but as we grow, we tend to then have to sacrifice for others, right, in turn. And that's the cycle of life, where if we're not sacrificing for each other, then we're just all just a bunch of selfish individuals. When we're not able to say, you know what, I don't have to have these conveniences, or I don't have to do such and such, especially like in a time like we're in right now, where we can say, okay, I can stay in. If it's for the good of everyone else, I could stay in. Even if I'm not sick, whatever, to help this thing, get in control, to help us all, stay healthy, whatever, I can stay in. I can make some sacrifices. We have to sacrifice. If we don't sacrifice and we just keep doing our own thing, it just doesn't work. And that's a relationship too, right? If we just keep doing our own thing, a relationship's not going to work. If I'm selfish and I only do what I want to do and I ignore the needs of, say, a friend or a spouse or a family member or a coworker, it's not going to work. There's going to be strife, discord, disconnect, no relationship, and it's going to just be turmoil, chaos. But if I'm able to say, you know what, it's not all about me and my needs, but it's about us. Now we have a relationship. Now we have connection. Now we can build something, grow something together and go somewhere together. Okay? So that's sacrifice. Giving of yourself. Being willing to do whatever it takes to help not only yourself, but the people around you. And that brings us to the last point of the 7, which is friendship. Friendship, no matter what relationship you're looking at, even significant relationships with significant others, you have to have a strong basis of friendship. Friendship meaning that sense of togetherness, that sense of investment, right? Of mutuality, of common interest in some form or fashion. There has to be that for a relationship to truly be in its fullness, in the most meaningful fashion that it can be, right? So if I am looking at my relationship, I want to make sure that I have that foundation there, that I am as invested in someone else as they are in me. A friendship is a choice. Every single day that you say, I'm a friend to you, it's a choice. Now in families, a lot of us are born into them. Sometimes we're adopted into them. Sometimes we just get them from who knows where. But even then, it's still a choice to relate to somebody, because you can walk away for the most part. Not always, but for the most part. So if we look at our relationships as choices and we say, okay, this is a choice that I'm making to relate to this person and to invest in this person, and hopefully in a mutual way have them invest and care for and choose me as well. Then you have that basis, that foundation of friendship there. Friendships aren't perfect. Okay, friendships don't mean it's all hunky-dory all the time. Friendships can get rocky, but true friendship is marked by peacemaking and joy in the long run. So even if we make mistakes and we have rocky points, we're able to say, wait a minute, let me be accountable, that was on me, let me be honest about that, let's come together, let's talk about this, let's reason things out, let's come to terms, and let's make it right. That's a friendship where it's not perfect, but when it doesn't quite hit the good mark, you're able to come back and say, hey, let's make it right. I'll do my part, you do your part, let's make it right. And it gets better, it gets stronger for each time that happens. It makes it stronger. And that's friendship. That sense of togetherness, that sense of working together for a mutual good again. All these 7 different aspects intertwine, intertangle, interwork to form a great foundation for our relationships. You can't have one without the other. You have to have grace and love, humility, accountability, commitment, patience, friendship, sacrifice. You have to have all of them for it to function and to be the most meaningful experience that it can be. If even one of those things gets left out, then there's a space. There's a detriment there to the relationship. There's a possibility for things to break down because you're missing one of the founding blocks, one of the layers that you need to make it strong. So you have to have all those layers interconnecting. So that's just a little synopsis the seminar I was going to share a couple weeks ago for relationships, 7 fundamental aspects of the relationships that we hopefully want to have. Good, wholesome, meaningful relationships that are centered on good qualities, good characteristics. And if we strive for the best, and even when we don't hit the mark, we make things right, or we are accountable for that, and we move forward, then we'll be on a good footing, and our relationships will be better. So with that, I wish you all well. Hope you're staying healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.